the better the engagement, the more people in the family are watching, the better we'll be. We still haven't really been able to crack the kids. We have a huge amount of kids content when they haven't been able to crack that. We're going to attack that as well. So we think that strategy is really differentiates us, and we're going to have to really promote it. We haven't been. Overall, we think this.
Well, Zaslav, here I am, your kid audience.
What's going on here?
Why, Michael? I thought you'd never ask. You see, what I'm trying to say is, we need your help!
Hello, everybody. Happy holidays. As you can tell, if you've been subscribed to my channel or you came across it and you look at my other content, it's really out of the norm of what I usually do. But this kind of topic means a lot to me, and I would love to go over it. I don't know how long this video will be, but I'll make sure that I only include the things that must be said and that I want others to hear. According to IMDb, they say that after all the products made by Acme Corporation backfire on Wile E. Coyote, in his pursuit of the Roadrunner, he hires an equally unlucky human attorney to sue the company. When Wile E's lawyer finds out that his former law firm's intimidating boss is Acme's CEO, he teams up with Wile E to win the court case against him. The director of this movie was Dave Green, along with the story being made by James Gunn, Jeremy Slater, and Sammy Birch. And it was supposed to be distributed by Warner Bros. And this year of July 21st, except Barbie and Oppenheimer got in the way, so, that didn't really happen. And they weren't really planning on releasing it. But why? Because on November 9th of this year, 2020, Warner Bros. Announced that it would be canceled. Yeah, the movie was canceled, even after it was completed. And when I tell you that the internet got really mad, they got mad. But the question that maybe some of you guys have, if you haven't been catching up with all this, is why was it canceled? According to Newsweek, they said that with the relaunch of Warner Bros. Pictures Animation in June, the studio has shifted its global strategy to focus on theatrical releases. Read a statement from the studio at the time. With this new direction, we have made the difficult decision not to move forward with Coyote vs. Acme. And even after telling the audience the reason why they canceled it, people were still not happy about it, and they weren't going to put up with it. According to The Hollywood Reporter, unlike Batgirl, Coyote vs. Acme was fully completed and had tested multiple times in the 90s. Best Picture winner Argo, both Deadpool movies, and the first The Conjuring are among features that likewise tested in the 90s. According to sources who have seen the film, which stars Will Forte, John Cena, and Lana Condor, Coyote vs. Acme is a popcorn-style crowd pleaser. Wow, that's pretty good. Not a lot of movies get in the 90s like that. Not even Batgirl got there. And when fans heard the test audience score in the 90s for Coyote vs. Acme, they went off, calling Warner Bros. Anti-art, calling them all kinds of things. They wanted Zaslav fired for the decision too. But it didn't only anger fans of Looney Tunes, movies, cartoons, it also offended filmmakers. And it wasn't like a few or like maybe two, maybe three filmmakers have told what they thought about this. No, it was a lot of filmmakers. even a few producers, directors, even the movie's composer. And let me tell you, they're not very good at all. It really affected Warner Bros. As a whole, too. For example, according to Screen Rant, Brian Duffield, director of 2023's hit horror thriller No One Will Save You, says that he will not work with Warner Bros. After Coyote vs. Acme's release was canceled. And the director indicated his decision not to work with Warner Bros. Will result in the studio missing out on $300 million in profits. Entertainment also says that the director said that the people working at Warner Bros. Are anti-art, and I hope multiple anvils drop on their heads. And even Ben David Grabinski, who is currently the showrunner of Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, that is very popular on Netflix currently, wrote, Coyote vs. Acme is a great movie. The best of its kind since Roger Rabbit. It's commercial. It's tested well. The leads are super likable. It's beautifully shot. The animation is great. The ending makes everyone effing cry. I thought the goal of this business was to make hit movies? According to Deadline, Lego Movie co-director and Spider-Verse producer Christopher Miller said, I saw Coyote vs. Acme, and it's delightful, funny, charming, good physical comedy timing with surprising amount of heart. I hope several studios go after it so the world can see all the good work people did. And Phil Lord, another Spider-Verse producer, says Coyote vs. Acme is wonderful. D. Green Machine nails it. Hilarious, smart, existential, and moving, and makes this all-time character more relevant than ever. According to Entertainment, director of Doctor Strange, Scott Derrickson, wrote, I think it's absolute BS that a studio can and does shelve the creative work of hundreds of people for an effing tax break. According to Vulture, composer Stephen Price, who wrote the score for the film, said on Twitter that he had a lot of fun scoring Coyote vs. Acme, and called the decision to cancel the film bizarre, anti-art. He additionally shared a video of a chorus singing Meet Me. Now, for the sake of this video, I won't be playing it here, but I will put the link in the description where you can go watch it yourself. And you know what's even worse? A congressman from Texas was involved in the situation, finding the whole tax writing situation very odd for Warner Bros. Variety says that Congressman Joaquin Castro has taken to Twitter to call out Warner Bros. Discovery for planning to shelve the completed film, Coyote vs. Acme, for the sake of receiving a $30 million tax break. Amid backlash against the studio, WBD has since put the film on the market in an effort to shop it to other potential distributors. He says on Twitter, the WBD tactic of scrapping fully made films for tax breaks is predatory and anti-competitive, Castro wrote on X, or Twitter. As the Justice Department and FTC revise their antitrust guidelines, they should review this conduct. As someone remarked, it's like burning down a building for the insurance money. And as the backlash grew, it got the attention of other people roaming around the internet and listening to what it's all about. And once they find out the plot of the movie, they're already saying, wow, that sounds like an amazing movie. And it tests well with test audiences. I want to see this movie. People wanted this movie so badly that they even made a petition for it, saying, release the completed and highly anticipated movie Coyote vs. Acme. And on November 9th, the day the movie was canceled, the petition already had 7,667 signatures signed for this movie to be released. That should really say something, shouldn't it? And after all the backlash, Warner Bros. Made a very big choice. On November 13th, 2023, a few days later after the weekend went by from the backlash, Anthony D'Alessandro said on Deadline, Coyote vs. Acme, Warner Bros. Setting up screenings for streamers of Acme's Looney Tunes film. The more egregious Hollywood sin here with Coyote vs. Acme is that it's a finished film, that it was intended for theatrical release, while the other two movies were still in the works. And then after that was announced, then that's when the bidding frenzy begins. And the saddest part about this, is that Warner Bros. Never even told anybody who worked on the movie that it was going to be canceled in the first place. According to Rolling Stone, they titled Coyote vs. Acme crew were blindsided by Warner Bros. Killing movie. Director Dave Green and top producers were only informed of the movie after WB had already began writing off the movie movie, a source tells Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone defends the movie by saying, but the film was testing positively with audiences, 14 points above the norm for a family film, a source reveals. Warner Bros. Is a mess, they say. They are obviously carrying this staggering debt. They probably have a certain minimums and obligations that they must owe to their creditors, which are motivating them to make bizarre choices. They're just not in sync with how the business has been run. It's devilishly destructive. Quite honestly, we thought it was a slam dunk, says another production source. I think that's what's so deflating and frustrating. I just don't get it because it's sitting there and none of us get to see something that's so fun and enjoyable. The film's editor, Carson Kaepernick, my apologies if I've gotten your name wrong, tells Rolling Stone that he and his team are heartbroken by the news, giving a special thanks to the VFX team, animators, supervisors, and assistants who all worked to bring this project to life. As artists, we pour ourselves into these projects, Kaepernick says. This film was for me for the last 2.5 years, and it will always be a part of me. I even got a Wile E. Coyote tattoo on my right arm the week we delivered the movie before I left London to remind me of the challenges we face while we pursue our goals. With this write-off, everything gets deleted. Not just what you see on screen, but everything that took to make the film, Kaepernick adds. A released movie is just the tip of a giant iceberg of love and labor. The talent and the commitment of the people who bring a project to life should not go unnoticed. All of it is now lost, but will never be forgotten by those lucky enough to have been there. And you know, that kind of hits home for me too, because I've been in a couple short films in my time of acting. Like, it's just the tip of the iceberg, taking the time to make a movie and then enjoying it when it releases. I can feel that. My dad, he's a director, a writer, and a storyteller. And he's been working on a certain project for, I think, since like 2020 or 2019. But we got to see it together, and it was really hard for him, especially when COVID came around. I mean, that's like the basic things, but it's the little things that really add on to making a movie. The director of the movie, Dave Green, had something to say about it himself. On Twitter, he wrote, "For 3 years, I was lucky enough to make a movie about Wile E. Coyote, the most persistent, passionate, and resilient character of all time. Along the ride, we were embraced by test audience who rewarded us with fantastic scores. I am beyond proud of the final product and beyond devastated by WB's decision. But in the spirit of Wile E. Coyote, resilience and persistence wins the day." I mean, if you think about it, it's basically what made WB so loved. Sure, there's also DC as well, but Looney Tunes, that was such a big thing for a lot of people growing up, especially like back in the 50s. Everyone loved it. It was popular back then. Still is popular now. I mean, everyone has their own personal lives, so they don't really talk about it much and they're interested in other stuff. And I'm one of the people who are consistent, who keep up what's going on with Looney Tunes, but a lot of people genuinely love it. I don't see why Warner Bros. Can't really see that, you know? I will give them the benefit of the doubt. The main character is Wile E. Coyote. It's a very unusual thing for a Looney Tunes movie. Usually the main character would be Daffy or Bugs, but Wile E. Coyote wouldn't really seem like the kind of main character kind of guy because he's silent most of the time. Well, except for the times he actually did talk, which was with Bugs Bunny.
What's up, Doc?
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Wile E. Coyote, genius. I am not selling anything, nor am I working my way through college. So let's get down to cases. You are a rabbit, and I am going to eat you for supper. Now, don't try to get away. I am more muscular, more cunning, faster, and larger than you are, and I'm a genius, while you could hardly pass the entrance examinations to kindergarten. So I'll give you the customary 2 minutes to say your prayers.
I'm sorry, Mac. The lady of the house ain't home, and besides, we mailed you people a check last week.
It's just a theory, but I just feel like maybe one of the other reasons why is because they just weren't confident that people would go to see a Looney Tunes movie about Wile E. Coyote. But I feel like if they advertised it right, you know, make it not look cheesy, make it not look weird, people would definitely go see it. And of course, it's a Looney Tunes movie. What else are you gonna do? It's literally your biggest brand ever. And I think that was another problem, well, in my opinion, like a theory of why they weren't confident. It's because a lot of people never really spoke about it while it was in the making. But I blame Warner Bros. For that because they never really said anything about Coyote versus Acme. Like, I never like saw a lot of talk on the internet about Coyote versus Acme movie coming out, a Wile E. Coyote movie coming out. No one ever really talked about it at all because Warner Bros. Barely said a word about it. Sure, there was a thing here and there, the poster of the billboard for, oh, ever get crushed by a piano? Like that kind of thing. I've seen that. And that was like one of the few things I saw for the movie, but that was really about it. I mean, maybe there was some other news I didn't see, but people aren't gonna know about your movie if you don't speak up about it, you know? And that could be another reason why. Yeah, this date for 2023, but you never really took the time to like tell people, oh, we're making this movie. And like, that's just what it is. There was not a lot of talk about it. Warner Bros. Never really said a thing. Only a few pictures here and there, and a little bit of talk from people working on it, but that's just it, you know? Everyone loves Looney Tunes, but they're not like a person like me where I always try to catch up with the news. There's people out there off on their own, but if you really want to show off this movie to the world, especially after the test audiences talking about how good it was, you'd probably want to start talking about it, you know? Especially before its due date. And especially after the filmmakers rebelling and stuff and talking about how upset they were, it really affected Warner Bros. As a whole because a lot of filmmakers didn't want to make their movies at the time when they canceled this movie. Because they were thinking to themselves, they're like, man, if a Looney Tunes movie can get canceled, all because they weren't confident in the product despite everything that was good about it, then would I even have the chance? Will my movie ever get out in theaters even after it was done? Because they see all these good reviews and not a lot of other good reasons why they should have canceled it other than, you know, the debt that Warner Bros. Is in. But like, my movie would get canceled if this movie can get canceled, you know? They're not confident. They're scared. People are have good ideas and wanting to make all these stories to entertain people and to create worlds that people's never seen before. But Warner Bros. Decisions to tax write movies off is scaring them because Batgirl, DC, Scooby-Doo, like, and Looney Tunes, those are your biggest products, and you're deciding to tax write them off like it's nothing and not release them. But apparently Coyote versus Acme took the cake because it was finished. And I know this isn't really for like everybody, but you know how like a Disney movie comes out? I mean, before all the live remakes and all that stuff, just like back then, when Disney movies were coming out, everyone went to go see them because, well, it's Disney. It's a Disney movie. Just people naturally love Disney. And like I've said before, people naturally love Looney Tunes. And Disney is such an important part to everyone's lives, just like how Looney Tunes is. Maybe not to everyone like for Disney, but sure, they don't release a lot of stuff in theaters for Looney Tunes. They've barely done that. I feel like they've only done that 3 times. Space Jam, Back in Action, then the newest Space Jam. That's an icon. Basically, everybody knows about the Looney Tunes. They at least know who Bugs Bunny is. They at least know his phrase, you know? People are interested in other things. People aren't as kept up with the Looney Tunes as much as like super fans are. Like me. I mean, I'm here making a video why this should be released. And knowing all the good things about it, that makes me want to see it even more. Plus, we haven't seen Looney Tunes in ages. Like you haven't made a Looney Tunes movie in a while now. I mean, we did have Space Jam, but people want like Looney Tunes movies that are funny but like have a purpose. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. But I will give Warner Bros. The benefit of the doubt. Wile E. Coyote isn't your average protagonist for a Looney Tunes movie. I mean, think about it. Every Looney Tunes movie, it revolves around Bugs Bunny and whoever celebrity cast is there. But like, we've never gotten Wile E. Coyote as one. And to me, in my opinion, that's wonderful because he's my favorite. But also, it's a nice change of pace, especially with like a plot line like this that makes sense to his character. And I think that's what I meant with a funny story with purpose, is because Wile E. Coyote, the character known for failing all the time to catch that roadrunner because of the products that Acme makes, you know? It always fails on him every single time. It either blows up in his face, gets a boulder on his head, gets a semi-truck to hit him, gets an anvil on his head, all those deaths. But it just makes so much sense because it's like, well, obviously he wants his money back. But I feel like another theory why they weren't so confident in this movie is because no one was really talking about it while it was in the making. I blame Warner Bros. For that point, because even back then when it was first announced, I was a super fan of Wile E. Coyote at the time still. It wasn't as big as really now because of this movie, but I really liked him a lot. He was awesome. I never really gotten the message that a Wile E. Coyote movie was being made. I knew about it, but I barely heard a thing about it. Like, I heard it was in production, I saw a few pictures here and there, but Warner Bros. Never really said a thing about it when it was in the making. Therefore, nobody was like looking forward to it. And then especially when it was the cancellation, like that caught everyone by surprise. It's like, wait, there was a Wile E. Coyote movie? And those who were there for the ride, they're like, yeah, there was. But they canceled the movie and they told them all about this, the test audience scores above the average, and about what the movie's about. And people who are new to this information, they're like, that genuinely sounds like a really fun movie. Roger Rabbit, the best of its kind. I mean, I want to see this movie. And people are like, yeah, me too. But Warner Bros. Are not confident in their product. And you know what? Let me tell you this. As a kid, I know nothing about money. I don't know a lot about debt. I don't know a lot about credit cards. I don't know a lot about all that stuff. But as your kid audience, like, and a person who kind of just roams around the internet all willy-nilly, I find it quite silly that you would tax write off a Looney Tunes movie. Especially when I said lots of people would go see a Looney Tunes movie, especially one that was heard by filmmakers to be this good. You would, I just think you would definitely earn a lot more than $30 million at the box office for a Looney Tunes movie. I feel like Warner Bros. Kind of underestimates how much a Looney Tunes movie can make, unless I'm wrong about that. But hold on, let me see. I'm gonna go through all the Looney Tunes movies that have been in a theatrical release and compare it to the tax write-off for $30 million. For Space Jam, according to Google, it says that the total amount that was earned at the box office was around $250 million US dollars, which is a lot more than $30 million for a tax write-off. Let's look at Back in Action. For Back in Action, according to Google, it says that it earned around $68.51 million in US dollars at the box office. A lot of people say Back in Action was not a really good movie, but you know, that's a lot more than $30 million for a tax write-off on a Looney Tunes movie. But here you are with that. Now let's look at Space Jam 2. Yep. And there we have it, folks. $163.7 million in US dollar. That's a lot. I don't know about you, but that seems a lot more than $30 million for a tax write-off. Wouldn't you say? I know you have a lot of debt on your hands, and according to some sources I saw, it seems like you guys were going to go bankrupt soon, and which I hope you don't. But it's like you finished the movie, you spent $70 million for this movie. That was the budget. That's what they spent, and yet you could earn so much more than $30 million for this movie you made that you already spent on, sure, advertising, but you could earn so much more, you know? Maybe they should have asked the internet. I feel like that's the problem with a lot of movies when people are like, oh, this and that and that and this, like, oh, I want to see this movie, oh, I don't want to see that movie. I feel like studios should look at their comments. They should see what people are saying about these movies, you know, what they want to see, what they don't want to see, what they're interested in, and what they're not interested in, you know? As a kid audience, for my generation, Gen Z, I'm not a part of the majority of what people are usually into, but I know my generation well enough. Our generation craves amazing stories. We love a lot of good stuff. But yeah, I don't know a lot about money, but I just think it's just silly that you don't, like, you see all these Looney Tunes movies that you've released that people said weren't so good, and yet they made so much money at the box office. It makes you really think, you know, if a so-called bad Looney Tunes movie can make more than the tax write-off, because it can make more of the tax write-off that you've made because you're not confident in your product. It's kind of mind-boggling because of how good, like, everyone says of how good this movie is, and yet you're just like, Gosh, Cancellation. I just don't think you really took enough time to really think about it. I mean, you probably have never seen like probably this much hype for a new Looney Tunes movie, like maybe for like Space Jam, you know? That was really big. I wasn't even alive at the time, but I can imagine how big that must have been back then. And like how it was intended for family audiences, it would be such a nice movie to grow up with. Just like how the people of the older generations grew up with the classic Looney Tunes. I mean, like your mascot is literally Bugs Bunny. What more could you want? Plus, movie studio, you're supposed to make movies, not cancel them, you know? It's just, it's silly. It's silly, it's silly, it's silly. And I don't know if you probably remember me saying this before, but like you never really gave us another good reason why this movie should be canceled, you know? I don't remember. I don't remember a time. I don't. The only thing I just can think of is like money for advertising, money for doing a theatrical release, and just the dad situation. I don't know. Especially when you know about the other tax rights you've done for Batgirls, Scooby-Doo Holiday Haunt. Like, you're just wasting money altogether from these tax rights. Sure, they weren't finished or anything, but like, people want to bring into the world stories. And if you approve them before, then you approve them before. I get certain situations, this and that and that and this, but like this movie is no exception. All the other movies I can get, but this is just, it's just strange. It's bizarre. And I promise you, Warner Bros., I promise you, you will get a lot more money than the tax write-off. Especially with all the backlash and everyone telling about how much they want to see the movie. And especially if other people, like other filmmakers, you know, everyone else I've listed who talk about it on their page and have other people who are on their page because of the movie, the other things they make, and then they find out more about this, they'll get interested. I promise you, you will make more than your tax write-off. If you do release it and you don't make more than the tax write-off, then I'm sorry and I am a fool and you can call me dumb. You can call me loony if you want. You can call me loony. That is okay. But I am promising you this. You will make so much more. And sometimes I feel like you guys don't even realize it. I've never run a studio before. I've never directed. I don't know money, but you have your reasons. That I can say. I can take accountability for that. I don't know about that. But as a lot of sources would say, I'm considered a kid audience. And if Zaslav says he was aiming for kid audiences, then I'm here, you know? I'm here to represent. And I know that's a big thing to say, but I feel like I'm here to represent for the majority of kids my age, you know? Because people, whether they've grown up with it, whether they're really into it, whether they're not really into it, I feel like my generation would want to go see this movie because according to all the sources, it's an amazing movie with an amazing story. And I believe that. I really do. And our generation, like I said, loves good movies, the good stories. And a lot of people love art. I can say that. And I can even say, even for the little kids, you know, you said kid audiences, even the little kids would really like this. I don't know about you, but like if adults, a lot of adults, like you see, if Warner Bros. Hasn't taken a look, there's a lot of videos of like adults talking about how ridiculous this decision is and how much they wanted to see the movie and like how interested they were in it. But you haven't seen a kid talk about it. You haven't seen a kid make a video on it. I mean, you're watching one right now. I'm a kid, you know? And if these adults who love Looney Tunes, or maybe have not even grown up with it, but still want to see it, they're talking about this and they're like, I want this movie released and I want to enjoy this movie that people have worked hard on and made. Kids will eat this up. The little kids will eat this all up. And I promise you for sure, I will be eating this all up. Heck, I would definitely go to the theater multiple times to go see this movie again and again and again because it's just that good. Now, I've talked about a lot of the facts of everything going on, my opinions of why they should release it, what they did wrong, things I can understand, but things I'm curious about, like all that stuff like that. And as you can tell, I'm a Wile E. Coyote fan, but you never really got to know why I love this character. I grew up watching cartoons. I grew up watching Disney. I grew up watching Looney Tunes. I grew up watching all kinds of things when I was growing up. But when I watch Looney Tunes, it takes me out of the real world to laugh. And it's like very comforting in a way. And that's where Wile E. Coyote comes in. Because I'm a person who grew up in the desert. Most importantly, Arizona. And Arizona has meant a whole lot to me. I love it here. And I've been here basically all my life. And the fact that we have coyotes here, we have road runners, like we have a desert here, and that's basically where the cartoons take place. I know I sound ridiculous, but still, it's so nostalgic to me, and it makes me feel so at home. And to make me laugh while I'm in this area, like in this place I call home, I don't know, there's something about it that I just can't explain, but it just means so much to me. Wile E. Coyote's such a fun character. He's like a comfort character for me, and I know I sound very deep for a Looney Tunes character, but he's been like the most inspiring character I've ever watched. The fact that he can just keep on chasing this roadrunner, he keeps on chasing for this goal, knowing that he'll 99% of the time just fail, and he does. That's all he does. He just fails. But the way he's so persistent and the way he's so resilient, as Dave Green would say, about him being proud of the character he's been making a movie about, it just really motivated me to just keep on reaching for my goal, even though it seems impossible, you know? I've seen times where he's got his hands on that roadrunner and he can catch that goal. I went to Warner Bros. Studios, I think it was maybe last year, maybe 2 years ago, maybe 2021, 2022, I don't know. I remember when I got to the art gallery, they had a little area for cartoons. Nothing was more magical than being on the Warner Bros. Lot, and seeing those drawings it meant everything to me. And I know some people that it meant the same for them. And the first time when I heard of this movie coming out, I was ecstatic. My friends thought I was the craziest girl ever for being so excited for a Looney Tunes movie to come. About this character who never gives up, and it's just so nostalgic to me. Heck yes, I want to go see this. And so I've waited 3 years. And I keep on telling my parents, I'm like, man, once this movie comes out, when we go to the theater, I'm bringing my plushie along, you know? I'm bringing a plushie. I'm probably going to wear a shirt, probably going to wear a funky little headband. I'm going to go see this movie, and it's going to be the greatest thing I've ever seen on the big screen. It will be my favorite movie of all time. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. When I heard of the Cancellation the first time, I was on a school field trip with some of my theater friends, and I saw the news on some video, and I cried. One of my friends noticed me sitting down on the ground while we were waiting for something, like some show or whatever, and they're like, "You good?" And I explained what happened to them, and they understood really well. They knew how much this meant to me. To be honest, after hearing that news, it kind of shook me up a little bit. I tried shaking it off, like, this is not something to cry over, you know? This isn't something to cry over, but it just kept on bugging me the entire trip we were there, and I've never felt so sad. It really broke my heart. Like, even on the way home, like in the middle of the night, everyone was laughing, talking about how amazing the trip was. I enjoyed the trip too. It was an amazing experience, but when I was alone in my seat listening to my music, all I could think about was the movie I've been waiting for. I'm speaking so passionately about this because, well, obviously it means a lot. And that's why today, oh my gosh, my voice, I need a drink of water. And that's why I'm making this video. I'm making this video because David Zaslav said he was going to target kid audiences. He wants to give content for kids, and he wants to attack that. Well, I'm part of the kid audiences. Technically I am. I may be 15, but I'm a teen, but I'm still a kid. A few years I'll be an adult, but at heart, I will always be a kid. And since no other kid has really spoken up about this upon the internet, and I just felt like I needed to speak up about the situation, and I just felt like I needed to represent those who are really, really wanting this movie. I'm sorry I got a little sappy or sad. I don't know what the word is. I don't know. But it's something I wanted to get off my chest, something I wanted to get out there. People come to Warner Bros. Studios, or any studio, to make amazing movies. And I feel like a part of getting money and getting that attention is to see what people love to watch, to see what they're into, to see what they look for in a movie. And I feel like studios should look into that more. See the comments, see movie reviews, you know? See what people want. But for me, to speak for my generation, which is a huge thing for this movie, but I really hope that maybe someone working at Warner Bros., like anybody, could see this video and just really think about it. Right now, the only two people who want to really take this movie right now is Netflix and Paramount. According to some sources, Paramount says that they might give this movie a theatrical release. I really hope they do. I mean, come on, guys. Think about it. I'm the most dramatic person to ever live the earth, but I'm one of the people who wants to speak up about the things I love. And I hope for the newcomers, this really helps you understand what this movie's all about, who made it, you know? I mean, you got James Gunn. You got James Gunn, man. He can't really say anything because he owns DC now, but I hope that it really does get to somebody. And no matter what, even if I fail over and over again, I will be as persistent as the coyote who made me really happy during the times I've struggled the most. That's all, folks.
I find you guilty of harassment, and might I add, if you're hungry, go to a restaurant for criminy sake, or a grocery store, but leave that poor bird alone.